Welcome back, everybody. Time for us to get behind the headlines. And today I'm taking a look at something that came across Huffington Post. The title of it was Marijuana-Loving Beer Breweries Embrace Weed-Themed Branding, Defying Federal Government. Kind of an interesting take here. And I've seen a couple of these brews as I've been at different clubs here in the Pacific Northwest. This is talking about basically since legalization has happened now in Colorado and Washington, more companies are less afraid to jump onto the weed-themed bandwagon. I mean, not to mention, the fast food industry. I mean, my God, every other Jack in the Box commercial is made for stoners. But the problem that the beer industry faces that these other industries don't face, right? Like if you're trying to pass off these ads, for ice cream bars or sourdough jack sandwiches, right? You might get a protest from a pastor, from the PTA, somebody might not like it, write a letter to the editor or something. But with alcohol, there is actually a federal bureau that controls how the beer brewers can advertise. It's called the Alcohol, Tobacco, Tax and Trade Bureau. It's just TTB is what they abbreviate as. It's a small office in the federal government that approves all alcohol beverage labeling. And it's got a document from 1994 that forbids any weed references on alcohol labels, right? The government document says drugs, drug terms, or slang associated with drugs are forbidden in beer labeling. And in the document, they also say, quote, "We do not believe that responsible industry members should want or would want to portray their products in any socially unacceptable manner." End quote. So this has caused a problem for a few of these brewers that have come up with some of these custom craft beers. There's one Dark Horse Brewing Company. They're in Michigan, and they had a brew that they sold called Smells Like Weed IPA. By the way, IPA is an India Pale Ale, and it has to do with the fact that when the British were, colonizing India, shipping their beer all that time to get to India, it would go bad. So they had to make it more bitter and put more stuff in it, and that's why the IPAs taste a little different. I got a little beer education the other day. So anyway, these Smells Like Weed IPA got rejected by the feds. So they changed the name to Smells Like a Safety Meeting. Smells Like a Safety Meeting IPA. And of course, Huffington Post had to explain that a safety meeting is what we call a toke break when you're at work. All right, there's another brewer. This is up in Seattle, and this is the one I'd seen. Red Hook Ale Brewery has a joint effort hemp ale. Joint effort, right? But they're able to get away with that because they're not selling it anywhere but Washington State. Right. And of course, the feds only kick in once it's interstate commerce. Right. So they're able to brew and sell in Washington State only from Red Hook Ale a joint effort hemp ale. It's got hemp seed in it. It's got kind of a nutty flavor. And the keg tap, the tap handle, is a bong. They've actually manufactured a bong tap handle for the brew. Now, there's another ban that's kind of interesting. Since 1954, the government has banned any design or pictorial representation relative to the American flag on beer packaging. Don't tell Budweiser that with all their American flag, but Budweiser says that's not the flag. It's some other red, white, and blue thing with stars that they're paling there. All right. There's another brewer, Lagunitas in Petaluma. I'm probably mispronouncing that. They had an ale called The Chronic. They had to change that to censored since they couldn't call it The Chronic. And of course, the owner of this company kind of complained. He said, "Let me ask you guys a question. What do you think Bud means? What do you think High Life means?" Of course, the feds don't care about it when it's the macro brewers that pay a lot of taxes. And then there's Concord, California-based Ale Industries that had one called Orange Kush. They had to change that to Orange Shush, because we can't talk about the Kush. Mount Shasta Brewing Company in Weed, California, actually got away with their Weed Golden Ale because the American Civil Liberties Union came in and sued because it's about the city of Weed, right? And then there was a picture, it kind of made Brian a little upset, but another one of their brews, it was called Shastafarian Porter. So we've got a lot of the beer industry jumping in on the marijuana-themed bandwagon here, having to fight federal regulations that prevent them from mentioning weed We're going to see as marijuana becomes retailed in Washington and Colorado, the work groups have already specified that there won't be advertising of marijuana in any sort of form. I don't know how long this can stand up, and I don't think it's absolutely necessary. Yes, let's not aim the ads toward kids or have cartoons or anything, but why can't adults advertise a product for adults? All right. Speaking of the weed-themed culture, it's 4:20 back in the Mountain Time Zone in Colorado, America's weed capital, Denver. Happy 4:20 to all you dabbers out there.
That means it's time for a safety break.
Safety meeting!
Oh, have you ever